You can add a third coach to this evaluation. But people are bringing up, of course, Mario Cristobal and Lane Kiffin. So let's start with those two. And if you've got a third that you would like to evaluate, I want you to make a choice. If you had a choice between those two or a third that you think is viable, that is a reasonable candidate, and then I will let you know why I would choose the one that I would out of at least those two.
Well, I mean, we're going to start with Mario, right? He was a Cuban-American immigrant. Well, his parents immigrated from Cuba. He's Cuban-American from Miami. Went to Christopher Columbus Catholic School. Played at the University of Miami. Was an offensive lineman on 2 national championship teams. Coached at the University of Miami at 2 different times. Has coached all over the country. He's at FIU, and then Pete Garcia ran him out of town because Pete Garcia is a terrible administrator. That's verifiably true. He's been an assistant in multiple places. He's now the head coach at Oregon, as you know. And I fully believe that he would come and take this job. Honestly and truly. And from everything that, has been reported, everything that's the chatter around and everything, it's very, very plausible that he would undertake this challenge. And understanding that it is a challenge, and understanding that you're not taking a lateral move in terms of immediate performance from the team that he's coaching right now to the team that he would be coming to coach. They're already at 10 wins. They were in the conversation for the college football playoff. Miami obviously not, but it's not crazy. It's not. And if you think that it is, then we just disagree. And that's fine. I'm not going to call you names or anything, but we can freely disagree, and we do. Obviously, if you think that it's outside the realm of possibility that Mario would leave Oregon. And again, I've already said that, coaches have left Oregon before, with Oregon being what Oregon is. So, it's hard to say that it's not possible when in this very scenario, it has already happened. But he's proven that he can build a program from scratch at FIU. He's proven that he is a very valuable recruiter. He's proven that he understands the offensive side of the ball from a physical standpoint, obviously, because he's an offensive line coach and offensive lineman previously. So he has that kind of mentality with it, and then has moved up to a name brand program and really done well with them. So there's that. There's been some gaps there. If they had a better quarterback, they would be very much better than they are. They're definitely struggling in that pursuit, but everybody's always looking for quarterbacks. Duh. This is why you always recruit one every year, because hey, it's a thing that happens, right? But the defense usually plays well for them. Obviously, against Utah, they did kind of get their doors blown off on the road there, but usually a solid team, usually a well-coached team, and they embody his mentality. And that is really key. Additionally, like I said, in terms of recruiting, he's really making it hard for everybody on the West Coast, because that is the destination. You go down to California, you get like a Kayvon Thibodeau, you get all these guys to go up there. Even a couple transfers that other teams wanted. He's really made it a destination thing because of the power of his personality and what he does in terms of recruiting. So there's that. Lane Kiffin, it's been reported too much that he wants this job for me to believe that he doesn't actually want this job. And Ole Miss is one of the most senior-laden teams in the country. They're losing Matt Corral to the draft, which they've already said, which is the quarterback, that's helping them to this incredible success. Lane still has his house in Boca from when he coached FAU, and loves Florida, like the state of. And I've heard it from multiple Power 5 assistants. And a lot of this is, I've heard for years, okay, back from when I worked in high school. I worked at Miramar High School, which was, a destination program for major programs recruiting. So I got to meet a lot of coaches in the world of college football whose names you would know. And I can think of two very specific individuals with very close proximity to the situation who would know and saying, oh, yeah, no, he loves and would love to take over Miami. I'm talking about Lane Kiffin. And this is years ago. He's proven that he can win at FAU, right? So he got them into winning. He's gone to Ole Miss, which is not an easy situation necessarily, but he's proven that he can win. You know, he's a great recruiter. He has grown up. You know, he'll still be Lane, but I mean, he's not the 28-year-old, 31-year-old impetuous kid that he was that got run off with some jobs and didn't have the success in those jobs that he and the institution or pro team would have wanted, but he could always coach his ass off. He ain't get those jobs just because, and I know that he's a son of a legendary defensive coach and everything, but he ain't get those jobs on the strength of his last name. He got those jobs on the strength of his personality. In fact, he can coach his ass off. Let that be known very clearly. Now, do you think maybe he wouldn't be long for this job, that he's trying to get back to the NFL or, you know, use Miami as a major stepping stone towards who knows what job or something like that? That's a concern. You know, and we had, you know, have there been breakdowns with his teams? That's a concern. But I don't think there's anything disqualifying. And I wrote it in 2015 that I think that Miami should have hired Lane Kiffin then when we hired Mark Richt. Hashtag Let's Be Jerks. You already know the originator of the movement. But apart from that, there's been an additional 6 or 7 years worth of evidence of growth from Kiffin from that point to now. So while he had a very good argument to be the coach of then, I think that argument has only been emboldened between then and now. So I think that you have two very, very good candidates there, and obviously Lane with offense. Like, you are, come on. I mean, you bring in somebody to help run the defense and everything. And Ole Miss's defense has been good at times. You know, they're doing the land shark thing and whatnot. And, you know, it's not been great always, but, you know, it's not been abjectly terrible, which we've seen from some of his previous defenses previously in his career, Tennessee, USC, Raiders, things like that. But, you know, he also went to the Nick Saban School for Wayward Coaches. Both of them did, actually, you know, and were assistants there before moving on to other jobs. And, you know, win a couple championships under Saban, you learn the process from him and go and then put that on the ground on FAU and then go over to Ole Miss. There's things to like with both Mario and with Lane. I'm seeing J Love T saying Tom Herman should be the third choice, hands down. If you want to go that way, that's a guy who had a rising star by his name. He's coached at two of the largest brands in the world of college football. Well, yeah, I mean, because he was the assistant at O State, the O coordinator. He went down to Houston and won. Then he went to the University of Texas and did not have the success that he wanted there. But that's another guy who has a big personality. That's a name. He has had some success. It was not all the success that you want at 100 or at Texas, but I mean, when he was at Houston, they were Teflon there. Like they weren't even Teflon. They were juggernauts. You know, those were some monster teams there in the Group of Five world, and they're even beating some Power Five teams and things like that. That's a guy with pedigree. That's a guy with fire. That's a guy with passion. That's a guy with demonstrated coaching excellence. Again, at some of the biggest jobs that you can get in the sport.
They worked out a top 10 Florida State team in the Peach Bowl.
Hello, you know what I mean. But again, the buy-in at Texas, and I think that Texas is its own thing, clearly. But the buy-in at Texas, the defense at Texas wasn't where it needed to be. It didn't fully curl over like it did at Houston. And you can talk about maybe some things behind the scene, but all three of those guys, if you want to put that in, and thank you for that contribution, J Love T, were all three are reasonable candidates. While I understand for a variety of reasons, because Miami is in Miami and the connections to people in Miami, that Mario Cristobal is the number one candidate pretty much across the board. Let's be jerks, bro. I wrote about it in 2015, and y'all thought I was playing. Go back and read that piece, because I have. Y'all thought I was joking. Absolutely and totally not. I'm not, you know, and I just think that he I think the marriage of of Lane Kiffin and the University of Miami is a match made in heaven. I always have for the last 6 years. I really truly believe that. I think that he's proven that he's ready for a spotlight major job again. And Ole Miss being is a good job. It's not the greatest job. It's not a Miami job. It's not. But I think that he's shown and proved from his time at FAU, turning them around from what they were to set them on the path to being what they are now, which is consistently 9+ wins, right? For laying that foundation. Again, after being at the Nick Saban School for Wayward Coaches. Then you go to Ole Miss and do what you're doing there as well, and even leveraging some guys from South Florida. Shout out to Elijah Moore from St. Thomas Aquinas, and everything. That's the guy that I want personally. But I understand that he's probably running a solid second to Mario in terms of the pecking order at present.
Why in 2021 is Ole Miss not as good a job as Miami?
I think that first of all, I think that the ceiling is not the same. I think that you're pretty much at the ceiling for Ole Miss right now. I think that, again, the environmental factors of the rest of the SEC West just depress. I mean, because you're not going to be the number one out there. You know what I mean? It's really a tough path forward to be that team. There's still going to be a little bit of talent acquisition and recruiting. You can get players there, but you have to work a little bit harder, I'll say. So that is something that comes into a factor. And it's just, I think that the potential to win more and bigger is more at Miami, even though we've not done it. But yeah, for those reasons, and it's in Oxford, Mississippi.
Okay, I agree.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I was just basing the question knowing that you were going to deliver that answer, which I do agree with. But current status, current
year. Oh yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't just mean this season. I mean relatively in the last 10 years or something like that has been comparable. So when I look at Lane Kiffin and Mario Cristobal, the reason I would most likely side with Cristobal, unless we went through the interview process and Lane Kiffin blew me away, would be it's a reasonable expectation that Lane Kiffin may not see this as the end-all be-all job that Mario Cristobal does, and that it's just another career move. And maybe he's looking at it as, hey, if things work out great and we win championships, I'll stay. But if we win championships or I enhance my resume and X, Y, and Z come calling, then I may be gone. Where based on Mario Cristobal's background, family roots, all of that, it seems like a destination job for him.
Fair.
That would be my only concern there. Also, Lane Kiffin, I've got to say, I'm impressed in talking to Ole Miss people that if you look at his last two recruiting classes, because I didn't know this to be true, but for most of his career has come off as, and I'm talking about strictly as a football coach on the field and what was important to him as a guy that I don't know this for sure, but may have cared more about putting up yards and points than winning games and championships. But in looking at his last recruiting class and looking at the current Ole Miss recruiting class, it's something like 4 or 5 out of his top 6 players in both classes are defensive players, which show me that he wants to win and he's addressing that side of the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And, when you have the knowledge of self, say, okay, I can recruit offense, I can get transfers on offense, I can develop the guys that we have here on offense, but we need to go and get different dudes for this roster for defense and going out and doing it. there's something to be said for that. And you have not all, but a lot of eggs in the Arch Manning 2023 basket too, for them, which would be really interesting.
Yeah, and when you've got a guy like a Lane Kiffin, a guy that has that kind of reputation for play calling, scheming, developing quarterbacks, and we know how important the quarterback position is. Look at Clemson, and you have your probability of getting one of those kind of dudes in every recruiting class or enough recruiting classes in the future to keep some kind of chain of elite quarterbacks or very good quarterbacks on the roster. That's a huge plus.
Agreed.
When those guys know, hey, this is a guy that can get me to the league.